years of experience in terms of um, industry that I have worked on for many MNCs and startup organizations. I've worked on various tools and technologies, including Selenium, using Java, Python, JavaScript, then mobile automation for using APM, Java, and then API automation using rest assured library of API Playwright, and then again couple of more tools which is like Cypress using JavaScript, Playwright using JavaScript and TypeScript and Java. In terms of if I talk about the teaching field that I am doing, like the instructor part of the things that I'm doing from last 3.5 years around, close to 4 years now. So I have delivered many sessions for Playwright, TypeScript, and JavaScript, along with like Selenium, Java, and other courses. I've also delivered the corporate training in few of the organization, including Cognizant and few of the other organization like Capgemini and so on. Now here in today's demo session, we'll talk about what is how it is different than other tools that we have in terms of market. One is like the popular, which is like Selenium, available in the market from the last 20 years. How Playwright is dominating in the market. What is the advantage that we have in terms of Playwright? Why people are moving towards Playwright? Then after that, we'll talk about the course content that we have, and after that, like we'll talk about what is the prerequisite to start with the course, which is like Playwright, TypeScript, and also we'll talk about what you people will get after the completion of our session, like once we complete the course, what you will get and all. So these will be few of the things that we will be discussing in terms of our demo session today. Okay. If you people have any kind of questions, what you can do is you can try to speak it out. Probably I might not be seeing the comment over here or the chat over here for at least next 10 to 15 minutes, because I'll be sharing screen for some or other things that is important in terms of our course and demo. And also I'd request you people to share your name plus if you have WhatsApp contact number, so that we will be sharing you some of the details regarding the courses, some of the documents which will be helpful in terms of practicing out for Playwright. Okay. So let's get started with the initial, which is like what is Playwright and what are like different things that we have in terms of Playwright, why it is popular. So Playwright, as the name suggests, it is one of a UI and API automation tool, which generally works for web automation and mobile automation and API automation. So using a Playwright, we will also be able to do the web automation, and also we can automate in the same using the same Playwright tools for the API automation as well. So it is one of our end-to-end automation tools, which is having a famous or popularity it is gaining in the market for web and API, both types of automation. Okay, it is having one of a capability which we do not have in Selenium. One is Playwright supports a built-in API automation library, which we can directly use to work with web plus API in the same framework, same repository that Selenium lacks in. Okay, so in general, if I just talk about in a layman term, Playwright is one of a tool which is used to work for an end-to-end automation of the web application plus API automation. Okay, now let's try to understand for the next few minutes what is the architecture that we have in terms of Playwright. So if you people are able to see my screen, you'll see one of a diagram that is available over here. So the architecture work is this is like known as a two-tier architecture. What is meant by two-tier architecture is we will be having we will be writing our code in any of the programming language. We can select like JavaScript, Java, Python, C#, and so on. And once we write the code, we basically try to run our test case, whatever we write wherever we write, either using any of the IDE. IDE is or basically integrated development environment where we use to write the code, which can be Eclipse, it can also be IntelliJ, or it can also be a Visual Studio Code. Okay, this is one of a IDE which is known as Visual Studio Code. Okay, so we write a code and then we try to run the test case. Once we try to run the test case, that will be converted into the JSON format. So you see here, this one is noting over here that test, we write a test, and then that will be converted into a JSON format. Once that converted into a JSON format, that code will directly run on the web browser. There will be no middle person, or there will be no tools that will be available in like taking care of the code and running the code into the browser. So our code will directly work on the browser, and browser will directly connect back with the code. And this happens over the WebSocket connection. What is WebSocket connection? WebSocket connection says that whenever there will be a connection between the code and the browser at the time of launching the browser, that connection will never get lost. It will only be connected, it will only be disconnected. The connection between the code and the browser will only be disconnected after the completion of execution of the test case. Okay, so in this term, there is no middleware that we have in terms of Selenium. If you people have already worked on Selenium, you might be knowing that the architecture of Selenium is a three-tier architecture. One is we write the code, we write the test using any of the programming language, which is like Java, C Sharp, Python, JavaScript, and so on. And that will be converted into the JSON using a JSON wire protocol. And that will be given to the browser, specific browser. So let's say if we are trying to work on Chrome browser, then we basically have to download the Chrome driver. And that Chrome driver will help our code to run on the browser. In terms of Selenium, whatever the test case that we write on any of the IDE, that will not directly connect with the browser. It will connect with the browser driver using a JSON wire protocol, and then browser driver will connect with a web browser. And then again, web browser, if it is trying to send us some kind of response, then this web browser, either it can be a Chrome, Firefox, or Safari, any browser it can be, that will send the response to the browser driver, and that browser driver again will respond us back using a HTTP protocol. So here we can see that in terms of Selenium, it is working on a JSON wire protocol. So in terms of JSON wire protocol, what happened is that, let's say we are trying to do some kind of operation. Let's say we are trying to click on few of the links. Okay, there are 5 types of links available in the page, and we have to click on all the 5 links. So for first link, there will be one HTTP like JSON wire protocol will be created. Okay. For second line, whenever we write to click on an element, again there will be one new JSON like protocol will be created, and after completion of the action, that will be deactivated. So what happened in general in terms of Selenium architecture is every time there will be one JSON wire protocol or HTTP protocol will be created to connect with the browser driver, and that browser driver will connect with the web browser. Whereas in terms of Playwright, if we see, it will first time, like at the time of launching the browser, it will connect with the browser, like our code will connect with the browser, and then there will be no connection lost in between. After the completion of the test case itself, the connection will be deactivated. So that's where one of the reason that Playwright is faster is just because there will be no connection lost in between. First time it will connect the connection between our code, wherever the code that we write, that means the test case that we write, and that test case using a WebSocket connection will run on the browser. Okay. Whereas in terms of Selenium, that will keep on, using a JSON wire protocol every time whenever we do some kind of actions. And after completion of actions, that will get disconnected. So that is one again, advantage that Playwright has is it will always be on active mode. Like the server will always be up and running. So there will be no connection issue in terms of Playwright. Now we know that Selenium here is a three-tier architecture where we write a code. That code will be given to the browser driver, and that driver will basically run our code on the browser. This is a three-tier architecture. So let's say when we run the code, let's say if it is taking 1 second of time to go to the browser driver, and then browser driver is again taking 1 second of time to run our test case on the browser. So in overall, it is taking 2 seconds. And if it is again responding us back any kind of response, let's say if it is taking from web browser to browser driver 1 seconds, and again from browser driver to the IDE wherever we have written the code, it is again taking 1 seconds. So in overall process, Selenium is basically taking 4 seconds of time. Okay. But if we talk about Playwright, as Playwright do not have any like third party which is like taking care of the code to run on the browser, the code, the test case that we write, that automatically run or talk with the browser. So here let's say if it is at the time of running, if it is connecting from the driver and taking a 1 seconds, and whatever the response is there, if that is again taking 1 seconds of time to provide us back the response, then in overall it is taking only 2 seconds of time. Whereas if we talk about Selenium, we have seen just that overall it is taking 4 seconds of time. So this is a second example where Playwright is much faster than Selenium, at least like 40% to 50% faster than Selenium in terms of execution, like the test execution. And what is the purpose of going for the any kind of automation? Just because make our test execution faster so that we can provide as soon as possible in terms of the feedback where the build is success or the application is working or not. In that way, Playwright is much faster than Selenium. Okay, this is just from the architecture. Now let's see what are the advantages that we have by using Playwright architecture. Okay, so let's see what happened over here. I'd request people to share your name as well as contact number so that we can share you few documents, few important documents from the institution level. Okay, now let's talk about the advantage that we have and why organization and people are moving towards the Playwright. The very first advantage that we have is Playwright, as we talked about earlier, is an end-to-end testing of the modern web application, and it is also having a auto waiting concept. What is meant by that is, if any one of you have already worked on Selenium, you might be knowing that before working or before doing any kind of actions on any of the element, we basically have to check whether the element is available on the page or not. And for that, we have to write a few lines of code. First, we have to wait for an element, check whether the element is visible on the page, and then we have to do some kind of operation. Whereas Playwright says that you do not have to write anything to check whether the element is available or not. If it is not available, then Playwright will by default have 30 seconds to wait for an element to do some kind of operation. So what is meant by 30 seconds is, if the element is not available on the page, it will automatically wait for 30 seconds to check if within 30 seconds the element are appearing on the page or not. Okay, after 30 seconds, anyways, it will fail if it is not available. But to wait for 30 seconds, we do not have to write any single line of code. Whereas in terms of Selenium, we have to use implicit wait or explicit wait to wait for an element and then do some kind of operations. This is one major advantage where it automatically removes stale element exception from the whatever we get in terms of Selenium. Okay, this is one major advantage where Playwright supports automatically waiting for an element, and that too the default waiting time is 30 seconds. In terms of Selenium, we have to write that code. Second advantage is it works on major browser, which is like Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Safari, and Opera. The advantage over here is in Selenium also works on all the major browser, but the advantage over here is we know that whenever we work on MacBook, we will be having a Safari browser. But if we work on Windows, we will not be getting Safari browser by default. And if we want to work on Windows operating system and check whether our test case is working for Safari browser or not, this is one again major advantage the Playwright is having, that without installing the Safari browser, your test case will run in Windows operating system for Safari browser as well. That means we do not have to install any of the browser. Without installing any of the browser, it will automatically work on all the browser that it supports. Let's say in your system, if you do not have Chrome browser, and if you want to check your test case is running on the Chrome browser or not, for that you do not have to install Chrome browser in your system. Either you work in MacBook or you work in Windows operating system. This is one again advantage that we have in terms of Playwright. If we talk about Selenium, we again have to install each and every browser driver and then browser we need to have in our system to run the test cases. Okay. Now, Playwright also works on major of like all the operating system, which is Windows, MacBook, Linux. Selenium also work on Windows, Mac, Linux. The advantage for the Playwright is the same code that we write for the web automation, that means web application, the same code will work on native mobile emulation of Google Chrome for Android and mobile iOS in Safari. What is meant by that is, whenever we write a code for any of the browser, the same browser will work on mobile browser in terms of Android on Google Chrome, and in terms of iOS, the same code will work on Safari browser for iOS mobile as well. Okay. This is again one of our major advantage, where the same code will run on the mobile browser as well. We do not have to change anything in terms of running our test case on the mobile like Android or iOS mobile. In terms of, I'm talking about a browser, whereas Android will have a default browser as Google Chrome, and iOS, which is like Mac, like iOS will have a default browser as Safari browser. Playwright has another advantage where it supports a different most popular technology that we have in terms of the market, which is like JavaScript, TypeScript, Java, Python, C Sharp, and so on. Now the main advantage that we have in terms of the Playwright came into is that we can see over here is Playwright have an excellent feature called traces. So it generates basically traces. What is traces? Traces is a feature that Playwright has given where we can check each and every lines of execution of the code. That means, let's say if you have test case that is executing 10 lines of code, each and every lines of code, what it has done, what it has done before running the test case, what is has done after performing some kind of operation, each and every detail that we can see in terms of the traces. Second is, it will also automatically take the screenshot. We do not have to depend on any third party tool. In terms of Selenium, we basically use commons.io to take the screenshot in Selenium, whereas Playwright automatically take the screenshot for each and every line of the code. It also takes the video recording of the test execution by default. That means we do not have to write any single line of code to take the video recording in terms of Playwright automation. And also it logs all the mechanism. As I said, like we will be able to check all the logs for each and every steps of the execution. It generates the complete logs for the test case execution, and also automatically retry. What is meant by retry is whenever there will be a test failure, we basically have to retry that to check whether the test case is again failing or not. Okay, for the few times. So that also Playwright automatically does, whereas in terms of Selenium, we have to depend on an interface. Okay, and that also we have to write 4 to 5 lines of code to make the test case work on a retry mechanism, whereas Playwright does this automatically as well. Now, if we talk about Playwright has given one of our inspector tool. It is also has given one of our inspector tool. It is known as an inspector tool where we can see what happened before. That means we can time travel after the execution. What happened is, like, let's say if we have to debug whether the test case have been completely passed or what kind of bug or the error that it has appeared. So at that point of time, we basically have to debug manually or by self. Whereas Playwright has given a tool which is known as inspector tool. There we can check what happened before execution of the code, what happened after execution of the code. That means each and every steps of the code that it has executed will be able to check it out in terms of Playwright execution by using an inspector tool. Okay, and debug becomes very easy. It will also suggest that what lines, which line of the code have been failed, what was the reason of the failure, and what can be the possible solution to resolve the issue. Okay, now as I talked about this earlier, that Playwright has built-in API testing library to fire the network calls. That means it has automatically given a built-in API library which will be helpful in terms of writing the API automation as well. So this is again unique feature than we have in terms of Selenium. We do not have API automation support in terms of Selenium, but Playwright has also given an API support, API automation support. Now Playwright has again given one more tool which is known as CodeGen tool. CodeGen tool is used to generate the test case automatically by recording our steps, by recording our uh, steps that we follow to navigate to the application. What is meant by that is, you people might be knowing, if you have worked on Selenium, then Selenium is having an IDE where it automatically generates the code. The similar code tools that Playwright has given is known as a CodeGen tool, which automatically generates the code in terms of the test automation. Okay, and another advantage that we have in terms of the Playwright is it works very efficiently in terms of shadow DOM element automation. If you people have worked on shadow DOM element, you might be knowing that how hard it is in terms of uh, Selenium to work with shadow DOM element, whereas Playwright automatically have a support of shadow DOM element as well. We'll explain you like what is shadow DOM elements in our real sessions whenever we start. But this is again one of a nightmare kind of things in terms of Playwright handling the shadow DOM element, whereas Playwright supports this by default. Now, a basic things is like a Playwright is designed on the Node.js. That means it is designed based on the Node.js using a Node.js uh, uh, technology. Okay, so majority of the people in the market or in any of the organization, majority of the people follows Playwright using either JavaScript or TypeScript. This particular course is designed for Playwright using TypeScript. Okay, so I'll just pause for a couple of minutes. If you people have any kind of questions till now that we have gone in terms of Playwright, advantage of Playwright and all, you can ask any questions for now. Yes, please.
Sir, Playwright is TypeScript, right? Hello,
This
sir.
course is for Playwright and TypeScript.
Can you directly learn the TypeScript without JavaScript?
Yes, yes. There is no dependency at all, but 90% of the code, whatever, let's say if you are trying to learn TypeScript, then that means 95% of the course will be completed for JavaScript as well.
Okay.
Or if you are already aware of JavaScript, then 90% of the code that you are already aware of TypeScript as well.
Actually, I know core Java, sir, and I'm working on automation testing using Selenium and Java in
Mhm.
PDD framework. So,
Right.
yes,
Okay. So
so
if you're aware of Java already, like
Mhm.
learning a JavaScript will be very easy in terms of. either learning a JavaScript or TypeScript will be very easy for you.
Okay, currently in my project, they are exactly hired me on TypeScript with Playwright.
Hmm.
They allocated me
Got it.
one project, that is banking project.
Got it.
In that, I have to work very freshly on that project. I have 4 years of experience in IT industries, but still I have to work on it.
Got it. Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so learning TypeScript is again easy part. If you know TypeScript, that means you know 95% of the JavaScript as well. And if you know JavaScript, that means 90% of the TypeScript code you already know. So this is again a vice versa kind of. If you know one, that means you know
Mhm.
90% of the other. Um,
Okay.
yes, other percent.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, please. Yes, please. The next person. Can you please?
What if he doesn't know any of the language like TypeScript or JavaScript? I mean, are you going to teach TypeScript for a couple of weeks or at least a week to have a proper
Right.
knowledge onto the same before we getting into it?
Right, right. So that's a good question. Just I basically would talk about this in the prerequisite part of to joining the course, but this course is designed in such a way that even a freshers will be able to learn the course. That means whatever the technology that we'll be using for the first couple of weeks, we'll be covering that up. In terms of this course, will be designed on Playwright using TypeScript. So we'll cover for the first 2 weeks for the TypeScript, and then only we'll start with the Playwright. So everything will be taken care in terms of the technology as well. I saw one more person is raising a hand. Yes, please. Can you please ask your question if you have any? Okay, if nothing else, then I'll just move on to the next section that we have to discuss about the prerequisite. First, we'll discuss about the course content that we have. Okay, so in terms of course content that we have, I'll just walk you through the course content. Um, just give me 30 seconds of time and I'll open the course content that we have in terms of Playwright, and we have TypeScript. Okay, so this is the complete course content that we have for Playwright using TypeScript. Here, we will be starting with the basics of, whenever we start our course, we'll be starting with the basics of the technology that we'll be learning as a TypeScript. So we'll cover everything from scratch, going from the basics like how do we declare variable, data types, statements, loops, functions, how do we create objects, array, what are different types of functions that we have in terms of TypeScript, what is anonymous function, asynchronous function, and so on. Okay, so first couple of weeks will be invested for the TypeScript only. We have designed it in such a way that, as I said earlier as well, like I've designed the course in such a way that even freshers will be able to learn. So first 11 sections, 11 to 12 sections will go for TypeScript. That means 2 weeks of time plus 1 or 2 sessions will go for the TypeScript only. After completion of TypeScript, we'll be going for uh, the first session will go for like installation of some of the things like installation of Playwright. Then we'll learn about how do we install other things, which is like Node.js, IDE, Playwright. What is the advantage that we have in terms of Playwright? And the setup we'll see in detail for the first session for Playwright. And from there onwards, we'll start with the core automation. That means a core concept of the Playwright, starting with a basic to create a project, to learn about how do we start writing the test cases, what is async and await concept, what are different types of fixtures that we have. We'll learn in detail like browser fixture, page fixture, configuration file. We'll try to understand how do we configure the Playwright and how do we run the Playwright on like Playwright test on multiple browser. As I talked about, Chrome, Firefox, Chromium, Edge browser, Safari browser, Android version of Android browser, Google Chrome version of Android browser, and Safari browser of iOS mobile. So we'll see all those things. How can we run the same code on the mobile as well? And then after completion of few of the basics, we'll again move to the advanced concept where we'll be learning about the locators that we can use in terms of Playwright. If you know like already a CSS selector or XPath, that is well and good. Else we'll learn everything from scratch over here as well. So what are the different locators that Playwright supports, different methods that Playwright has? What is the weighting mechanism concept, like weight concept that we have just talked about around 10 minutes ago, that Playwright automatically waits for an element to load and click on an element. After that, we'll go for a few advanced level where we'll be checking for the static drop downs, dynamic drop downs, radio button, checkbox, how do we handle windows, and then we'll also talk about the advantage that I talked, like inspector tools, trace viewers, code gen, which automatically generates the code. So we'll see that those also in terms of our courses. And then we'll move to the advanced level of Playwright, which is handling a dynamic element, handling dynamic dropdown. How do we assert? We'll write a end-to-end script in terms of Playwright. We'll also check what are like Playwright has given few of the methods to write the locators. How does Playwright UI test runner works, where we can directly open a tool and run the test case from there as well. We'll see after completion of locator, like few of the methods that the Playwright has given for locators, we'll move to the other advanced part where we'll be checking how can we handle hidden elements, how can we handle pop-ups, frames, uploading and downloading of the file, shadow DOM handling, and so on. And after learning for the UI part, we'll move towards the API automation testing, a few of the basic API that will also be covering up in terms of our courses. After completion of the API, we'll check like how do we take the screenshot of page and screenshot of specific element, and how do we do a visual testing in terms of Playwright. Once we complete the basics of UI and API, we'll go for generation of a framework for we'll create a framework from scratch, which is using a page object model. We'll also see how do we handle the data using JSON file. How do we parameterize the test case? How do we run the test case in parallel and serial mode? Different kind of configurations that we'll be doing, running on the different browsers, different operating systems, and so on. And then we'll move to report generation, where we'll be seeing like how can we generate the report using HTML, LUR reporting. How do we integrate our code, the framework that we develop? How can we integrate that using a CI/CD pipeline Jenkins? So we'll also see like how to install and configure Jenkins. How can we run our test case on Jenkins? And later we'll again cover one more framework, which will be known as a Cucumber BDD Cucumber framework, where we'll see again the similar type of things that we will be seeing in terms of the page object model. So page object model and BDD Cucumber framework will be covered up in terms of the courses as well. So these are the complete course that we have created, course content that we have created for Playwright using TypeScript. Now, when it comes to like who can enroll for or what is the prerequisite, the only prerequisite that I would expect from the people is to have some kind of understanding of the testing. If you know if you have some kind of understanding of testing, or if you have already worked on manual testing, or if you have already worked on any tools and technology, that is well and good. But if you have just a basic knowledge of testing, then you are good to enroll for the course. Okay, because the complete tools part, which is Playwright, and the technology, which is TypeScript, will be covered up in the session in the course itself. Okay, now I'll talk about what you will get after the completion of the course. So one thing is that you'll get like complete understanding of TypeScript, a complete understanding of the Playwright. Second thing is you will be able to write the code by self without even taking the help from anywhere. You'll get, like, if not mastered, then at least you'll become at intermediate level where you will be able to develop the framework from scratch using a page object model as well as BTT Cucumber. So both of the framework you will be in a position to make it from scratch or generate it from scratch by self, provided you have to practice whatever we go in terms of the courses. Okay. And third thing, most of the things will be most important things again will be to generating a framework, integrating with the CI/CD pipeline as well. So that means you will have a complete end-to-end flow of the automation where you will start writing the code in terms of Playwright using TypeScript. Second, you will have a complete understanding of how do we generate the framework. And third, how do we take that to the CI/CD pipeline where you can integrate with one of a CI/CD, which is Jenkins. Okay, so these will be the expectation that you should have after completion of the code, and you should be getting this after completion of the code if you practice whatever we go in terms of the sessions each day. Okay, so that will be the again the what you will basically be getting from the course. Now I'll run you through one of our tests that I have already written in our previous sessions. So I'll just run you through that, and we'll see like how the Playwright is working. I'll just show one of a demo for the test case that in terms of we have is let's say we just have to fill a form. Okay, so there are a lot of things like before starting our sessions, I'll also walk you through what is the prerequisite to start with the Playwright. So before installing, we'll see everything in detail in our sessions. Not in terms of our demo sessions, but in the real session, we'll see each and every things in detail, what we have to install and how do we have to install. So in terms of working with Playwright and TypeScript, we first have to have in our system known as Node.js. Okay, so Node.js is what is Node.js? Node.js is an open source cross-platform. It is similar to JRE. If you have worked on Java, you might be knowing like JRE is a Java runtime environment. In terms of JavaScript or TypeScript, Node.js work as a JavaScript runtime environment, which will help us to run our code, which we write in terms of JavaScript or TypeScript, to run the code and execute on the browser. Okay, so this is the first prerequisite that we need to have in our system known as Node.js. After installing of the Node.js, we need to have one IDE, which is known as Integrated Development Environment. That is also known as a tool where we write the code. So example, this is one of our Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code basically works in a better way with JavaScript and TypeScript. Okay, and now after installing of the Node.js and Visual Studio Code, we'll have to install Playwright, which will be, again, we do not have to go on internet or we do not have to search any of the jars and all. We just have to write a command which is known as npm init playwright. As soon as we type the npm init playwright, it will be able to install the complete Playwright framework in our system, as you see over here. So this has been automatically generated by the Playwright, and this will generate a test runner file which is known as a playwright config.js. Playwright.config.ts will be in our course, which will be a TypeScript. So we'll see like playwright.config.ts, which will be similar to this, and this will work as a test runner file. Whenever we run our test case, at the time of running our test case, the test case will contact playwright.config.ts, and then from here, whatever we have defined, it will take care of. Like example, fully parallel. If you just want to run all the test case in a fully parallel way, we can run this out. If you want to generate a report using HTML, Allure, we can do that. If we want to override the default timeout that Playwright has given, we can also override from it over here. If we want to automatically take the screenshot, we can define it from here. Automatically take the videos, that we can also do. If we want to automatically take the logging part, that we can also use using our traces. We can also define what kind of browser that we want to automate for inside the configuration file. Now let's try to see one of our example where we are trying to just log in into an application. Okay. So in general, our test case in terms of Playwright will start with a test function. This test function is a method or a function available in Playwright test module, which will help us in writing test case. So whenever we write our test case using Playwright, we'll be writing with a test function, and then there will be a title of the test case that we have to define. Example, here we have login into the application. Now JavaScript and TypeScript both are asynchronous in nature. What is meant by asynchronous is whenever a programming or technology will be asynchronous, that will never guarantee you that the first line of code will be executed at the first step, second line of code will be executed at the second step, and so on. So to make that in a synchronous manner, synchronous means execute the test case line by line. That means first at the first step, second step at for the second time, third step will go after completion of the second step. If you want to make JavaScript or TypeScript to work in a synchronous manner, we have to utilize a async and await keyword. And then we have different methods that we have in terms of Playwright. Using that, we have written a method to run our code in run our test case using Playwright over here. Okay, let's try to run and see how it works in general. So you see, we have just clicked on this, and our code have filled everything, whatever it requires. It has filled, it has completed. So we did not even observe whether the application have been launched or not. So that is where it's so fast in terms of executing our test case. We'll see everything in terms of like what we have used, why did we use async, what is page, what is await. Everything we'll see in detail in terms of the course that will be starting with the Playwright and TypeScript. Okay, so everything we'll learn in our session as well. Now with this, I'll stop the session over here, and we'll take the next 10 minutes of time to check if you people have any kind of questions to ask for. Also, I'd request if you people have not shared your name and phone number, please try to share so that we can share the document that I was trying to, share over here in terms of this. This is the complete document that I have prepared for Playwright, and every methods are listed over here as well. Okay, so with this, I'll just pause here for the next 10 minutes to check if you people have any kind of questions, and I can take it up from.
Mhm. So, is there any
Over
defined
to you.
time for this class? Hello?
So the timing will be again. Hello,
Yeah, yeah,
am I audible?
yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, you are.
yes. Right. The timing will be communicated by the people whoever you are in connection with. So he can, provide you the exact timing. What will be the timing? But I'm expecting like it will be 8 to 9 p.m. IST, I believe. But you can again check it back with the people you are in connection with or contact with. Yes. Yes, Lala. So you were
Hi,
trying to ask something.
this is Shweta.
Yes. Yes,
I just
Shweta.
want to know, like, which website we are gonna automate during the session. Any specific website we are going to use?
Okay. So we have different websites for different use case that we'll be using. One will be that we have like spicer.com. Other is we have a QA demo website that we have. There are a lot of scenario that we can cover up. We have one more which is like freely available, which is known as rahulshetty.com. That website is having a complete again in terms of practice, we have everything mentioned over there. So we'll be covering that website as well.
Okay. Like why I'm asking that, is there any chance to use any e-commerce website so that would be easy for us to
Right,
understand and
right,
develop a framework in that way?
right. So I talked about one of our websites known as Rahul Shetty, right? So that website, if you go through with, uh, that is exactly having a complete e-commerce kind of things. So if you see this one, this website is having a e-commerce website itself. So you can order it from here, get the details, get the verification, go to the cart page, go to the orders page, and see what all the orders that you have defined. It is again one of our e-commerce website itself. Okay, does it answer your question, Shweta?
Yes.
Okay. Any other question for now?
And one more thing, I'm not from the development, like Java knowledge I don't have. So is it easy to understand, or like how you're gonna help me to understand that? Is there any
Definitely.
like notes you're gonna provide, like provided, or how?
Right. So first thing is every details of the nodes will be provided in terms of the tools as well as technology. That means TypeScript as well as Playwright. Through each and everything in our session in detail, we'll be writing a program, and all the programs will again be shared with you people. So to understand the tools or technology, I don't think it will be hard to understand if you know the only the prerequisite, as I said earlier, is to have some understanding of the testing.
And if the end of the session, you also like help to prepare for interviews, like I'm after this course,
Yes.
can I show some 6 months experience in my resume?
So after the completion of course, if
Yes.
you practice whatever we learn our session, you should be in a position to show like 2 years of experience. I can guarantee you that as well. If you practice a lot, whatever we learn in our session, you should be in a position to provide at least 1.5 to 2 years of experience that you can show as well.
And like you also gonna help to interview preparation in that?
Yes.
Okay. And if one more question, that I have heard that the Playwright with JavaScript have very good market than TypeScript. So
Mhm.
what do you think about it, and how is it is? What will be the
So it
best
again
one?
it again depends on the organization what they are trying to follow. But as I said earlier, again, if you learn JavaScript, that means you have already covered 90% of the TypeScript. So both of the language are almost similar. So either you use a JavaScript or TypeScript, anyone is fine. But I see like 60% of the organizations working on JavaScript, 40% on the TypeScript. But in the long run, if we talk about, there will be again like 50% and 50% people will be working on JavaScript and TypeScript.
Okay.
So learning, so scope for JavaScript and TypeScript, both of the technology are equal. I will not be able to say like which one is like greater in terms of uses and all, but both are equal in terms of the
Are you going to
Hi,
record these
Praveen.
sessions, and these sessions will be shared for, right?
yes, every session will be recorded and will have access to the lifetime for
Yeah,
the
sure.
complete sessions.
Thanks.
Praveen, just need to know
Yes,
whether there is any certifications for this. I know
right.
practice is better, but I just need to submit into my organization. So I'm just asking if there is any certification.
Yes, you will also be provided with a certificate after the completion of course.
It's from the institute, or do we have any sites to do it?
No, it will from the institute itself.
Okay, okay, that's good. Thank you.
Any other question from anyone? Also, I
Yes,
just
sir.
request if you have not,
Mhm.
if just a
Yeah.
minute, Ishan. So I just request like if you people have not shared your number and name, please share so that we can provide you some kind of helpful documents. Yes, Ishan.
What's the duration of this course?
Right. So this course will have a total duration of 30 hours. So every week will be a 5 session for 5 hours, which is like 1 hour each day. And total duration of the course, including TypeScript plus Playwright, will be of 30 hours, 30 and max 32 hours. So over a period, if we talk about, will take like complete 6 weeks of time to complete the course, excluding
Okay.
Saturday
Yeah.
and Sunday.
Yeah. Got it.
Okay. Any other question from anyone?
Yeah. Do we use any test runners for this?
Test runner, Playwright, as I was trying to show you, like playwright.config.js works as a test runner over here. So I was trying to show you earlier that this one, which is known as playwright.config, will be working as a test runner, will be basically working as a test runner over here in terms of Playwright.
Like, have I requirement for just response trials? Do we teach that?
I'm so sorry, but I'm unable to hear you properly. I'm so sorry. If you can
So
type
I have
your
a requirement
question.
for just can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
Requirement to in my organization for just or something like Mocha is there, right?
Mocha and Just, right? Right. So we do have a support for the like Playwright supports a Mocha and Just as well, and we'll be covering up here in terms of the framework. We can cover Mocha over here as well. So we'll be this course will be completed on the Mocha itself. Mocha frame. Again using a unit framework known as Mocha. Okay. Any other question for now? Okay, great. So if no question, then thank you once again for joining the session, and we'll see you people again in a session if everything goes well. We'll start with our session very soon, and
Yeah,
we'll see
one
you
last
people over
question.
there.
Um,
Yes, please. Yes, Rahul.
yeah, do you think that Gen AI is emerging, like evolving like anything? So it's just a curious question. So I just want to ask you this since you are very experienced in this. So do you
Hmm.
think that Gen AI will be taking a high places in terms of testing, automation testing, especially? So in that case, like, what are the things that you have to learn in terms of Gen AI going forward? Like, it can be any automation, like it can be a Playwright or Selenium or whatever.
Hmm.
So, in
Right,
your experience, what do you think, or how do you think that you have to be ready for the next upcoming challenges with Gen AI and with the
right.
current
Okay,
situation?
okay. So only the thing that we have to do is to upgrade ourselves. Whatever the new tools and technology come into market, we just have to upgrade. See, 20 years ago, when Selenium came into market, everyone were saying that the malware testing will be wiped out from the market. But still, after 20 years, most of the people are working on malware testing, right? So Gen AI is again a tool. What we have to do is we just have to understand that how can we use Gen AI to fast our test automation, like to write our code in a faster way, to write our testing process in a faster way. How can we integrate with different tools and technology to work on a faster way? That is only the thing that we have to understand. Apart from that, we don't have to worry for whether there is a Gen AI or any kind of AI which will take place of the testing and so on. That will never be happening in at least for the next 20 years. Okay, so I think like only upgrading ourselves in terms of the tools and technology that we are working on, plus understanding of how can we take the help of the Gen AI tools that we have in the market, but that will never take place like wipe out the testing from the market. Okay, okay. So with this, I'll just stop it over here. Once again, thank you everyone for joining our session, and we'll see you people again in a session for the Playwright and TypeScript. Thanks a lot, everyone.